welcome to the lore of Braunhaven. This is going to be a series of shorts that I'm doing here on YouTube, um, basically explaining the lore and background of Braunhaven campaign setting and some of the stuff that just didn't make it into the books, or I guess stuff that's rattling around in my head that um, that I know that maybe I wasn't capable of putting down on paper. And so this first episode is going to start at the very beginning, and I'm not going to get into the geological and theological discussion of the creation of the world. And that's what we're calling it right now, is the world. I have not given it a name. It's just the world. But there is a name for the continent that we are on. And the name of that continent is Zandamar, with an X. Zandamar? No, it's just Zandamar. And what we do know, and I will be honest, there's a lot of stuff about this world that I've created that I don't even know. So there is an assumption that if you look at the timeline in the Braunhaven campaign setting, that it roughly starts at -2000. But that's not true. -2000 was the reckoning. And that was where an alignment of the planets happened, and there were 3 comets that heralded the coming of the known gods. And what that really was is it was a collision between the prime plane and the celestial plane. They actually collided, and that is where we got the known gods, or you might call them the new gods, but they're actually the known gods. But before that, there were the old gods. They were actually the ones that created the world. And so they existed for quite some time. There is evidence of civilizations and ruins, magic items, possibly even entire kingdoms that existed before -2000. And a lot like our own Earth, we don't know what happened before a certain date. And yet we find archaeological evidence to show that something was going on. I'm not going to delve into that, because then I'm going to end up with a whole bunch of Ancient Aliens people in my replies, and that's fine too. But no, there were no Ancient Aliens, but there were the ancient gods, and these are of the godly, divine sort, not the space alien sort. And so the old gods, basically the king of the old gods was Montes. He is the god of elemental earth, the mountain father, the great rock father. He is why the world came together. He pulled all of the great stones together, forming the world. He also created the Skelos mountain range, which this is not the entire world, but this map that we're looking at here is just the Glossian Empire. The Skelos Mountains is really the border between the Glossian Empire and the country of Stygiana, and I use the term country for Stygiana to be loosely, because I don't necessarily know that you would call it a country. It is a conglomeration of tribes. But anyways, that is the border on the western side, or northwestern side, of the Glossian Empire. While this smaller range on the eastern side isn't necessarily a boundary. There are frontiers to the Glaucian Empire, frontier kingdoms that pay fealty to the Glaucian Empire. But I'm fast forwarding. So, so Montes created this mountain range, and he is worshipped. So the old gods overall is the pantheon of the druidic circles of the Glaucian Empire. Druids always pay homage to the old gods, and Montes, being the king of all the old gods, is usually universally worshipped by dwarves as well. But generally humans, even elves, they give their passing to Montes as well. In addition to that, you have Tula, and actually, this is a relief piction of Montes, and this was found in a church, and kind of showing him placing the rocks, kind of as you would. I mean, it's a 2D depiction. So. And then this is Tula. And Tula Tula is the mother goddess, the goddess of grain and livestock. She is the patron mother of humans and halflings. She is the goddess of brewing and of harvest. Now, this is an important one because Tula, it is important to note that humans, as we know them, are not the original humans. So we do know, and the reason why we know this is that there are scattered tribes of them to this day. There was a progenitor, an original race, and those are the they're proto-humans, and there are some of them, Neanderthals, that still exist, especially in the Skelos Mountains. A lot of them are, well, not a lot of them, but there are some tribes in Stygiana that still hunt the mammoths and the woolly rhinoceros and whatnot in Stygiana. But there was something before humans, but Tula is looked at as the mother of humans and halflings. If you were looking at it from a scientific point of view, halflings and humans kind of split off from that line and came to what we know currently. And she is still worshipped throughout the empire as the mother of brewing, or the goddess of brewing and harvest, and the old gods are always venerated, even with the known gods having shown up. And then you have, of course, wedding, and I don't have an image for wedding. But she is the goddess of love, compassion, and fertility. She's the patron mother of weddings. So basically, if you can imagine your typical wedding festival, and I don't mean like the goddess wedding, I mean like people getting married. There's like, there's flowered rings on the heads and things of that nature. That is where wedding truly resides, and she is both revered by both humans and elves. Dwarves, dwarves have an issue with fertility, and so a lot of times dwarves are matched. strictly on a basis of whether or not there is some past knowledge that the female has produced offspring or that the male has produced offspring. And so they will match them up because they have fertility problems. And so this is why there aren't as many dwarves in the world as there are humans and elves. Of course, then you have on the flip side of that humans, which procreate like cockroaches. They're everywhere. But then you have Thuros, and Thuros is actually of chaotic alignment. He is not a nice god. He is the god of elemental fire. He is the great flame, the ash father. And in a lot of the Glaucian Empire, if you look all the way up here to the northeast, there is this volcano up here. A lot of the Glaucian Empire believes that, in fact, that actually, and it's not listed on the map, that is actually called Thuros' Mountain. They believe that, that is the realm of Thuros. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I haven't gotten to that point yet. But Thuros, he has a very peculiar relationship with mortals. He has given them fire, and at the same time, he has burned them with it and laughs about it. He's kind of a jerk. On the flip side of that, you have Frisia, who is the goddess of elemental air and the great wind mother. And she's also known as the gentle breeze. And she's also chaotic alignment. And she can go any which direction. She can give sailors a breeze to ship them from, the Imperial port across the Dragon Sea on their way to Orentis. She can cause fair weather on the Great River as they travel down. Or she can cause terrible windstorms and water spouts, and even summon a kraken that will end your life. So, yeah, she's got issues. Then, of course, there is Satis, the goddess of elemental water, and she kind of fits in frequently with Frisia, but Satis is a neutral alignment. She doesn't care one direction or the other on whether you have a good day or a bad day. Frisia is usually going to be a little bit more sadistic about it, whereas Satis is just going to be, whatever. You can have your nice waves and you can keep on trucking. But then, of course, she can also become a tempest. And that is usually when she joins with Frisia, and that's when everything truly goes to shit. Sinaz is the patron father of the elves. He is the god of forests. He is lord of woodland beasts. He's mostly revered by elves, although most of the humans in the Braunhaven region around the Braunhaven town, they all pay homage to Sinaz because he is the god of the forests, and so they pay tribute to him for giving a good harvest of trees so that they can build and things of that nature. It is known that he has given birth to the elves, and there is some backstory about where Sinaz actually came from. Sinaz, actually, as an old god, is older than some of the rest of them. So Sinaz, of course the other ones came from somewhere, but Sinaz, we already know, well, I already know, came from the Fey realm. And I haven't decided whether or not he was actually at one point a mortal, or, well, not a mortal, but an elf, but he has ascended to godhood. And so the Fey realm brings in Sinaz and the elves. Did he give birth to the elves, or did the elves always live? I think that the elves probably always existed in the Fey realm. Who knows how they came about? I mean, planar realms are are peculiar in and of themselves, but um, he brought them over to the world. Um, so this is the old gods, and much of the Braunhaven region, even after negative 2000 to the current day of what 200, they worship. Still, they pay homage to the old gods. Most, excuse me, most of the shrines that you'll run into, or even temples and churches, most of them are going to pay homage to both the old gods and the new gods, or I'm sorry, the known gods. And so there is this old guard that is holding on to that old religion. Um, the druids and the rangers and the witches of Braunhaven all hold on to that old religion. Catch us next time, and I will discuss the known gods and the collision of the planes, bringing the known gods into the world, as well as the outcome of that, as well as the coming of the three. Thank you for watching. We'll catch you soon.